So welcome everybody to the Overthrow, powered once again by our friends at Spond. And joining me, my buddy, Mr. Hugh Newsom. He doesn't realise the weather's got warmer though, do you, mate?
Well, it's cold in my dubious office, but no, it's lovely. I'm looking forward to this weekend. I will take 27 degrees on a cricket field over, 13 degrees and raining, which is what we played through last week. So all the way, every day. So it's just lovely. Proper England.
It's going to be proper this weekend, isn't it? Definitely. And joining us, he's used to a bit more warmer weather himself. International superstar, and I am taking the mickey with that one, because he is on the tour of tours at the moment. Mr. Tom Scollay from Cricket Mentoring. How you doing, bud?
I'm very well, thank you, gents. Coming to you from Munich in Germany at the moment, but thank you for having me. It's nice to be back on with you guys.
The hotbed of international cricket, Dieter Klein's homeland.
Yes, I'm actually sitting in friend of yours, Daniel Weston from European Cricket. I'm sitting in his apartment here in Munich, who's one of my best friends. So
nice.
Spending a week and a bit with him. He's so really excited to be here and get to the UK in just over a week.
Fantastic.
Yeah, you have sort of taken a roundabout route to get to where you are, though, haven't you, via India?
Yes, so started in India a couple of months ago. We did our sort of 4 weeks of our India training camps with 50 people from around the world, and Daniel and his son came as well. So that was magnificent, a great time in Bangalore that we have every time we're there. And then I've had a month with the family. We started in Singapore and we've done the Netherlands, Belgium, France, and now we're in Germany. So, and then we get to the UK next. So this is a little holiday before I get to the UK and start doing some work over there.
And you've actually had a month without cricket then?
Well, I'm still doing lots of cricket things. I don't stop. So I'm still mentoring players around the world and still watching and following and doing some content and those sort of things. But yeah, just trying to, during the day, spend some time with the family and explore sort of other parts of the world.
Football's homeland, away from the cricket. Are you heading down the soccer route there, Tom? Are we sort of going to say, could do a bit of soccer mentoring as well?
No. Actually, soccer was the first sport I played in my first love, I think.
Right,
but I realised I wasn't quick enough, wasn't big enough, and cricket took over when I was about 11 or 12, and it's been all cricket since. But I still love soccer.
There's not much of a side in the Northern Territory. I wouldn't have thought. It's
No, there was no pathway to get from Alice Springs in the middle of the country to playing internationally. So cricket it was, and I'm glad I went down that route, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. So you genuinely month in India, holiday month almost with a bit of work along the way. But then 1st of June, I think it is, you land here in the UK and you're head coaching at Crouch End. And I've got to say, the way they've started the season, we joked last week on our pod, do they need you?
Mate, well, the weekend they did. The weekend just gone, they bottled it. They unfortunately were in a winning position and didn't get over the line. So, but to be honest, they're a fantastic group of players that is very well organised, very well run. I played there in 2019 and I think I've sort of set a few things in place back then to sort of change the culture a little bit. They were already a very successful side, having come up from the lower divisions and won, and then we were playing in Division 1 at the time. We sort of got promoted that season. They went to the Prem and they won the Prem a couple of years later. So they're a fantastic club. I'll hopefully just go and add a little bit of value to each individual and collectively. But yeah, the way they started to get 380 in the first game of the season and beat North Middlesex was fantastic. But unfortunately on the weekend against Stanmore, I think they lost 5 for 9 when they needed about 30 to win. And ended up losing the match. So, yeah, I had a chat to the captain a couple of days ago just to sort of pass on a few of my thoughts to sort of pass on to the group. I've been chatting to him and mentoring him a bit, but really excited to get back to doing a bit with Crouch End once I'm over there.
Yeah, and I think that the guy I'm excited to see where you take him next is the way I thought for Prasad has started. The runs he scored against Wanstead in the national championship. Yeah. This guy's on fire at the moment, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. Well, back-to-back hundreds. To get 100 on the Saturday in the first league game and then 100 on the Sunday was a weekend he'll remember forever. And that's what good players do, is when they're going well, they make it count. They have a hunger to do well. And Arthava went through Middlesex pathways and had a really promising sort of future, and it didn't quite work out. And I think it was a lot to do with mindset and not being able to sort of perform consistently in the bigger moments. And I've done a little bit with him. I actually played a game with him at Eastcote because he was an Eastcote junior I played a match with him quite a few years ago now. But then he moved over to Crouch End when I was doing some coaching there a couple of years ago. He came and sort of shadowed me and listened to me coach, and sort of we had some time together. And he's the captain. He's the one I've been chatting to a fair bit, trying to sort of support him and help him as much as I can. But he's an incredibly intelligent young man. He's working in the city, and he's highly skilled. So hopefully, I can just help unlock the mindset for him and the hunger to just keep doing it week after week. Because I think when you start the season well, or when you're coming off runs, a lot of people can relax and just think, oh, I'm comfortable, I've scored runs. And I think back like to Joel Curtis when he was at Crouch End and he scored 1,300 runs in the Prem, and he broke all the records. One of my messages every week was, go again, come on, go again, do it again. Like, this is a new game, start again. If you get in, go big. And hopefully that's what Athava can sort of replicate this year, and he can bring the group along with him. Is started the season so well, the monkey's off the back, you can play with freedom now, but have the hunger to go again and again and again and make it an amazing season, not just a okay season.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Obviously, the day before you arrive, massive match. Next round of the National Club Championship, home game, which is always good, against the East Anglian champions, Sawston and Babraham. It doesn't get much bigger for any club now, because you're really starting to get through those rounds very quickly. You'd love to be there, I'm sure, but it'd be nice for them to get through that one and just go have a little run there with you.
Absolutely. And yeah, look, the way they started the season, that first weekend, anything's possible if they play at their best. But I'm sure the same goes for the opposition. So it'll be whoever shows up on the day, whichever individuals stand up, because as we know, cricket is a team sport and it's the sum of all parts, but there's individuals that can make a huge impact on the game, and you need individuals to stand up like Athava did and Will did in the first sort of league game of the season. So hopefully it goes Crouch End's way, and hopefully the boys will be up and about when I see them on the Wednesday following. But who knows? It's an exciting time.
It could be Brentwood. Could be Brentwood after that as well, couldn't it? So
yeah, definitely. Well, to beat Wanstead and Snaresbrook in the last round, who were runners-up in the T20 National Championship last year, that was one of the standout results for me, without a doubt. And then to potentially come up against Brentwood in the next round, who are winners in 2024, you've got a proper route there to get through some proper top games. And what I've seen around the National Championship already this year is people are taking it to another level in terms of the amount of people who are turning up and watching, and it's really becoming something. And we're the first to say we know we've bigged it up a bit, Hugh, haven't we?
But I think it's gone on to another level. So publicity-wise, I think the help of Instagram and all these kind of things, people are really starting to commit to it in maybe ways that they didn't do in the past. So I think it could be the biggest year ever, and it probably will. As you head into the national stages, I think it's going to garner more publicity across the country. We could see some proper coverage of it this year. Hopefully,
it should. Yeah. Like it's a big thing to sort of try and be the national champions, and it's a big sport in the country. It's the level below professional cricket. I think it should get publicity, and these guys who are all fantastic cricketers, some ex-pros, some aspiring pros, some club cricketers who are very good at what they do. I think it's a big thing for them, and obviously there's a lot more riding on every game. With a league game, you've got 18 games in the Middlesex League, you've got 18 games in the season, and you drop one like it's Crouch End on the weekend, you can catch up in the next few weeks and whatever. But the knockout, the cups are huge. They're huge, and there's pressure. So getting behind it is awesome. And I think it's what's interesting is the timing of matches as well. Like if Crouch End had played their first match last Sunday after they've had a bad loss on the Saturday, maybe the result's different, but they'd come off such a big win on the Saturday where everyone's full of confidence to step into Sunday. Timing was great. So hopefully for Crouch End, they have a good day on Saturday. They can go into the game on Sunday full of confidence and belief in themselves, and a few guys in form, and they can do it again.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, because obviously they beat North Middlesex in that first game, which is last year's champions, and I'd won quite reasonably in the end last year. So great way to start the season. Hugh, you were just about to ask a question.
Yeah, just moving on to what you're doing then once you're here, Tom. I have lots of conversations around cricket. I spend far too much time around cricket clubs around the country, and the conversations you have with people, and particularly I'm sort of in the junior sphere on the whole, but I come back to your approach more and more and more. Game last night, I'm talking with parents, and this sort of mindset is everything now, and particularly, I'm spending a lot of time between the sort of the 13, 12, under 12s to under 16 sort of age group, and it's like the foundations of the game are in place. These kids know how to play, and the problems are not technical anymore. There are some technical problems, obviously, but and it's becoming the more mindset. So just talk us through what's going on. This is not an advertorial, is it, Livo? This is something we're genuinely interested in, and what you're doing
100%.
I think is different to pretty much anybody else in your coaching sphere, I think.
Yeah, well, look, back to you've had me on the podcast before, so anyone who wants to know more of my story can maybe go back. But I believe that I didn't reach my full potential because I wasn't consistently showing up to my cricket as a consistent person. And we're a human first, and then we put our cricket gear on and we go and try and bring our best in a cricket sense. But we're still the human being that has thoughts and emotions. And for me, I didn't understand that as a starting point because there was no social media. When I was a teenager, there was no people talking about it. So I just thought that the best players in the world who were on TV, they were different to me. And I didn't understand that everyone has emotion. Everyone sort of struggles, but they just learn how to deal with that. So I was able to make it to be a professional cricketer playing for Middlesex, but I was a very inconsistent professional cricketer and my career was over very quickly. So out of my sort of struggles, I sat back and I started to be really curious about why didn't I make it? Why was I living with Sam Robson and on any given day I could be better than him, but he went on to play for England and has now played sort of 20 years as a professional cricketer. And back then I was like, I'm out of my career and he's playing for England. What's the difference? And I started really paying attention to just success in general, success in sport or success in cricket, then a broader sense success in sport, and then a broader sense success in life. And so there was more and more people talking about mindset and like dealing with emotions in big moments. And so that on reflection, I realized that I lacked that. And some of my mental framework was excellent in that I was a really positive person. I was always quite happy-go-lucky, but I did hold on to performances so much. My identity as a person was so linked to my results on the field. So if I did well, I felt like I was really valuable and life was great. And if I didn't do well, I scored a duck or I got no runs, I felt like my value as a person was lower. And that's how so many young people that's how they approach their sport. And so for me, I'm really passionate through my own lived experience, but I just really believe this is the thing that's going to make or break a young athlete's career because Hugh and Livo, you both coach juniors and are in cricket, you know this, that there's so many people putting time and effort into their game. It's what's going to separate those that go on and make it and have a long, successful career like a Sam Robson or even more successful like a Steve Smith or a Joe Root, or those that maybe are like me or less than what I did and don't become a professional cricketer or have a sort of a short professional career. And to me, it all comes down to them understanding themselves as a person, understanding their game and being able to apply their skills to different situations when there's pressure, when there's sort of results matter and there's big moments in games and tournaments and these sort of things because anyone can perform at their best when there's no pressure, no consequence, not a sort of in the nets and those sort of things. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to get around the UK and share these messages. We talk about the 6 pillars of success, and so we're doing a sort of a 6 pillars of success presentation in about 20 different cricket clubs around the country, trying to reach as many different people, which is trying to grow our brand and our business over there, but impact as many people as we can and share the message that I wish I knew when I was younger.
It's such a game of failure, isn't it, cricket? The more time you spend around it, the more failure you see. And it's, a typical scorecard is what, 9 failures? We're talking batting here, 9 failures and 2 succeed, and that's a typical ratio, I think, for most weeks. And I think it's really hard, particularly for younger people to grasp that, I reckon for every, total superstar, maybe a Jacques Callis or something, there's a few freaks out there that have never had to probably take this on board, who've just had, you might disagree, Tom, but this apparent God-given ability and who've never, it's just worked for them. They've got to the very top without necessarily having to having too much failure. But for every, maybe a Jacques Callison, he might be a bad example, but there might be 99 other superstar pros that have had to deal with all this and have found their way to it, and then dropping into the lower counties, second 11 cricket. I think, like you say, everyone's probably fighting the mental game more than anything else.
Absolutely, absolutely, and like Jacques Callis is one of the greatest ever, and he wasn't picked in his high school team, and he said,
right?
yeah, he wasn't picked in his high school team, and I had HD Ackerman on my podcast, and he shared this story because he knows Jacques from South African days, and he said that Jacques said to someone, "I'm going to get so good that they have to pick me," and he went and started working harder, and it was the setback that built the hunger in him. So I think that no one makes it to the top without a lot of setbacks, and especially as you say in cricket, like it's a game of failure. Even the greatest ever, like some of the greatest ever, Root, Smith, Williamson, Kohli, they all went 18 months, 2 years without getting international 100, and they were all doubting themselves. They were all struggling. They were all low on confidence. And it's amazing that once they sort of got their mojo back and they got one score, how the floodgates opened again. But every human has struggles. But I think the world's best athletes, which is what I'm always studying and trying to then pass on messages to those 12-year-olds, 14-year-olds, 16-year-olds, is say, this is what works for the best. Success leaves clues. They've all had so much struggle and setback, and I think that what they just do is they keep learning from it and keep moving forward, learning from it, moving forward, and eventually they learn that it doesn't define them. When they're teenagers, most people do have this identity sort of crisis where they think that every innings is going to impact their career. They're either moving closer to being successful or further away. And when you think that, every innings is so meaningful. But when you sort of step back and look at it, it's just one moment in time. And you could get two ducks in a row, and then 2 weeks later, you get 200s in a row, and you're picked for the team you're trying to get into. And 2 weeks earlier, you'd got two ducks in a row and thought you were so far away from it. So it's just a funny game. And I think that the most successful players do really understand some fundamentals, and that it is a game. It is a game. And if you can enjoy the game, you usually are able to play at your best more consistently.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think it's one of the things I try to push into our juniors at our place all the time is that enjoyment, number one. We had a classic situation last night where we've been tanked around the park, left, right, and centre. And we then had to go out to bat against a team that we really shouldn't beat, full stop, end of story. And the lads are already talking between themselves, going, well, if we just block and they can't bowl us out and they'll get really bored. And I went, no, go out and enjoy yourselves. Have a look at a ball. It's a T20 and then smack one. And I tell you what, the moment they start running backwards on it, they're going to get a bit more wound up and enjoy what you're doing, because there's nothing better than feeling that ball come out the middle, far more than that, oh, it's a T20, we're going to block it out for 20 overs. And that enjoyment level from 14, 15, 16, if you can really get that into them, I'm a firm believer that by the time they get to 20, 25, it just sticks with them, doesn't it, Tom?
Yeah, look, and I think most ambitious athletes, and we'll talk about cricketers because that's obviously what we all do, but most ambitious athletes follow a cycle where they start the game, they start playing the game, maybe a father or a mother gets them into the game, they find enjoyment in the early days, and then they sort of, the parents start to support that. They might get them some coaching, or the kids play more and they go to the nets with their mates. They do it because they love it. And they usually have some success at a younger age, so that is part of the enjoyment. They get pretty good at it. And then they start looking at what's next. And when you get ambitious, you start losing a lot of the joy, because as I said before, every result impacts whether you're moving towards your goals or not. And so many athletes go through these teenage years where they're not really enjoying it, because and cricket is a game where your score is next to your name every time you do something. So it's either runs scored or bowling figures is next to your name. You play football or other sports, then the score's not next to your name, it's next to the team name. And you're not as judged by others. So every kid, every teenager opens Play Cricket or whatever the app is, NV Play, and they see their score and they see everyone else's score, and you're always comparing yourself. And so I think so much joy is taken out of the game in teenage years when you're just striving to get better, striving to make it. You forget to enjoy the journey, to enjoy it. And then I think the best athletes find a way to get back to enjoying the game, and they understand that, it's really hard. It's such a hard game, especially being a batter where you only get one mistake and your day could be over.
Yeah.
If you can enjoy it first, regardless of how you're, usually you get better results. If you can find joy in what the game is, the uncertainty of the game, the fact that you're outdoors, you've got 27 degrees tomorrow, you're not at work, you're not at school. If you can enjoy the little things, being with your mates, competing, you can enjoy those things. Usually that gets you into a better sort of framework mentally and emotionally that then allows you to play at your best. But so many athletes have the equation around the wrong way when they say, when I do well, I'll enjoy it. But I say it's if you enjoy it, usually that leads to doing well. And you enjoy it more. You of course enjoy it more when you do well. You get to do your craft more. You enjoy it more, but finding a way to enjoy it before the results come, I think is what the best athletes are able to do. And then you can see they walk out with a smile on their face, their shoulders are back, chest is out, they're relaxed, they're enjoying being at the ground, not just when I get 100, I'll have fun in the after the game sort of thing.
I'm so on board with that, Tom, and I think one of the best examples I've seen that you've already mentioned him is when Rooty went through a period where he wasn't quite hitting it for us, and obviously 9 times out of 10 these things coincide with being a bloody captain, which doesn't help. Yes. And you could see
an England captain, yeah,
exactly. The shoulders have dropped; it's not there. The moment Rooty started to find that love for the game, he does a couple of things when you watch him very carefully. And we were talking just off air beforehand, because I'm on analyst duty a lot of the time these days, you're watching what's going on. And I love watching Rooty when he's bored. Because all of a sudden, he's jogging around the pitch, he's throwing the ball, he's enjoying it. There's a video out there of him doing a bloody cartwheel while he's fielding. And he wasn't doing that when he was struggling. But he's now come back to it. He's enjoying being out there with his mates, and all of a sudden he wants to do. And I see that with Harry Brook week in, week out. He just wants the ball in his hand. You know, he's never going to be an international bowler taking 300 wickets, but actually give it to him. And you can just see the enjoyment and grabbing that. It just shows that it doesn't have to be a 12-year-old. It can be a 30-plus-year-old and one of the best batters we've ever seen. They can lose it, and it's just grabbing that back, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. Anyone, like I think that if you, and that's what I think Smith, Coley, all these guys who are some of the greatest ever, they would have lost the enjoyment because they were so focused on the results. And when they almost flipped and said, you know what, I've done it before, I reckon there would have been a moment in time for a lot of them where they went, stuff it, I'm just going to have fun again. I'm just going to go back to being a kid and have fun. And when they did that, then the results come. But it takes a bit of time to get back to that and almost getting to rock bottom and going, stuff it. Let's go back to just keeping it simple and having fun.
There's a really good podcast that you probably won't, the Business of Sport podcast. I've spent a lot of time listening to over the last year or so. And Tymor Mills is on this week. I just listened to it yesterday, and he's got a really great point. He didn't get into cricket till he was 14. Someone chopped him the ball and said, I need a spare player. And he immediately was faster than anybody else and his left arm, which is handy. He didn't get picked for a rep side until he was 16 because he was spraying all over the place. He was playing at Mildenhall, Premier League legends in East Anglia. And so he's not, he said he went into the academy and he said all the boys in the academy were cooked. They'd been through since 9, as many of, pathway kids, and they'd got to the academy and they were cooked. And he'd come in a fresh face. What's going on here? I'm keen to learn. And I think he said Ben Folkes has proceeded to be a pro, and him. Those are the two out of that year group to carry on. And so he's come in fresh face, keen to learn, and has sort of flown. And it's a bit different with bowlers, isn't it? Because obviously you need to learn how to bat, and you can't really learn how to bat at 16 completely. There will be some examples, but then also he talked about dealing with setbacks, and because he wasn't completely cricket mad at 22 when essentially his back went, it wasn't the end of the world for him. I could imagine, again, if you've been going through that process from 9, dealing with that setback, because the weight of importance on it, and he was able to deal with it quite quickly and pivot into a different sphere. Into obviously it became a T20, bit of a T20 legend. So just from your point of view, Tom, do you spend a lot of time dealing with setbacks?
Yeah, and look, I think what you say there is a fantastic point, that like so many kids think that making the under 13 county side is the be all and end all. And your example there is great, that they get in, They're so happy they're in. They get the clothing, and it makes them feel really proud and special. But then every session is like they're getting judged. Every session is like, I've got to stay in the team. I've got to impress the coach. I've got to like get up the order. And who's going to enjoy it when you feel like you're being judged all the time? And I think one of the really special things about what we do when we take our groups to India is there's zero judgment. And I make that really clear on day one, where I say, hey guys, no one's judging you here. You're not getting selected. You're not getting picked for anything. We've got a 50-year-old over here and we've got a 13-year-old over here. We've got girls, we've got guys. We're all here for one reason. That's two reasons. We love cricket, so we wouldn't be if we don't love it. And two, we want to get better. So we need to support each other. And I'm going to be clapping mistakes because that's what I want to see. I want to see you trying things. And people are like, oh, okay. And it's not until we get in the nets and on the first morning someone runs past one trying to use their feet. And I'm like, yes, Hugh, well done, Hugh, keep going. And the people like eyes light up because they're so used to being judged and batting in a straitjacket and being really tense all the time that I'm not surprised that at 15, 16 or 17, they go, oh, I don't want to live 4 days a week where I just get anxious going to something after school. Stuff it. I'm giving up cricket. And so to your point about time, or like, I think like I'm not trying to, and I might have said this to you guys on my podcast, on your podcast before, but I'm not trying to rush my daughters into getting into cricket. And if they want to show an interest in it, fantastic. But to your point, I don't want them to burn out at 17. I want them to have a love for the game and find their own love when they're ready. Whereas I think too many people, get in at 10, and by the time they're 13, they've lived 3 years in this like anxious, tense state that they just, and some can do it fine. Some can sort of make it work and do it fine. They don't get anxious, they don't get tense, they can perform really well, they understand things a bit better than others. But there are a lot of people who are skilled, they do love the game, but they lose that love over time from being in this pathway system, county system, whatever. And it's sad because I think if we gave people more freedom, a little less structure, and just said like, okay, go and do a bit of work with your private coach who hopefully is more relaxed, and come to us once a week or once a fortnight, play the games, but find a way to enjoy the game. I'd imagine there'd be a lot more kids still playing as adults.
Yeah, can't disagree with that. So when you over here for your coaching season, but also your tour, Tom, you've got 20 plus dates around the country right now, literally from Crouch End in the south to York in the north, Millfield over in the west. You're going all over the bloody place. What can people who turn up expect to hear at these sessions?
Well, so it's focused around the 6 pillars of success. So we talk about technical, tactical, mental, emotional, physical, and lifestyle. So it's going to touch on all 6 of those sort of pieces of the framework, but it's going to focus mostly on this sort of stuff around mental and emotional, and why I think what I've seen working with guys like Jake Weatherald, working with juniors all around the world, and from my own career, why I think players either make it or don't make it. And so it's going to talk about the identity of an athlete and how people can hopefully let go of the desire, the desperation to do well every single time they play. It's going to talk about accepting that the game is hard, and that, as you alluded to before, it's a game of failure, and that you're going to have a lot of bad days. And it's just going to try and give people a bit of understanding about themselves and what's going on in their mind, and sort of normalize things a bit, and then try and give them a few tools and tactics to sort of take away so that they can show up to cricket a bit more relaxed, a bit more calm, a bit more free. Because the difference between playing freely and playing with fear is huge. Yeah. And you watch players in the nets generally, and I talk about county pathway stuff, maybe a lot of kids aren't playing freely in the nets when they're getting judged by the coaches, but generally they're more free in the nets than they are in a game, because in a game there's a consequence and a scoreboard, and the brain can't be tricked as to when there is and isn't a scoreboard. In the nets there's no scoreboard, in the game there is. So a lot of people aren't able to get to their best in a game when there is a scoreboard, when there is consequence. And so what these sort of presentations will sort of touch on and share is how players can understand themselves better so that they can hopefully bring their best to the game more often and play with freedom, move from playing with fear to playing with freedom, and therefore execute their skills, make better decisions, and execute their skills more consistently.
Yeah, you spent a bit of time with Steve Smith over the last couple of years. he's one of the unique individuals in world cricket in terms of his mindset. You know, what's he doing to achieve what he's achieved that others maybe aren't? Because it just, you watch him and he's just a unique character, and it seems he's so into the game. It's such a, I don't know, it's a level of focus, but it's also, when he's batting, it's almost like he's not focused, if that makes sense. He's almost in a different sphere. The game is happening around him and he's just doing his own thing.
Well, look, I've known Steve for a long time. We're a similar age. We played junior cricket against each other. Sam Robson connected us when we were in our early 20s. They're both from Sydney. One of Steve's best friends, Rootsy, is one of my best friends. And so I've started doing a bit of cricket stuff with him over the last few years, but I've known him for a long time. He's a different guy. He's quite a shy guy. Like he's not an outward extrovert, overly confident person in general. But I think I share a video of Kobe Bryant answering a question that I sort of got from Instagram, where they said, someone asked him a question, said, what is it that all the great athletes share? What's the trait that all the great athletes share? And Kobe goes, it's easy. It's love. We love what we do. We love the craft. He goes, it's not the championships. It's not the trophies. It's the love of the craft. And that's why we do it all the time. We watch the tape because we love what we do. We prepare better than others because we love what we do. And to me, it's been very well documented how much Steve trains and how many balls he hits. And I think it's because he loves it. And he's like, well, this is what I want to do. I don't want to go and like read a book. I don't want to go and walk in a park. I want to hit cricket balls. So I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
And so and as he's gotten older, he's tapered back the volume. But I think, and Justin Langer spoke on a podcast about how Steve's such a good problem solver in games because he's solved all the problems before in the nets because he's trained so much. So I think that he is just a great thinker of the game. And I think that he's a great thinker of the game and his game and how he can apply his skill sets to each situation. I actually had dinner with him a number of years ago in Perth, the night before he played against Pakistan in an ODI. And he basically laid out what was going to happen the next day. And he said, last game I walked across my stumps and they were bowling because I knew they were going to bowl really wide. So I was carving everything through the offside. I think he got a few runs in that game. He goes, then I got pinned LBW because I was getting across my stumps. So he goes, I know they're going to come at my stumps this game. So he goes, I'm going to get across my stumps again, but I'm going to be more balanced and ready to hit them through the leg side. And that's exactly how it played out. And he got 100 that day. It was almost like he just sort of, and you can never be 100% sure, but it's almost like he was aware of what was going to happen before it did happen. So but in saying that, a really interesting story that I shared on my podcast was so when I was with the Sydney Sixers in December and January, it was January. It was after the series, the Ashes had finished. He came back to the Sixers, and first ball of the match, he ran down and hit Cooper Connolly for 6. First ball he faced, not the first ball of the match. Hit Cooper Connolly for 6. And it was an incredible shot. He goes into the pitch, but he absolutely pumped it over long on. And then he couldn't get any strike. He was off strike. And I think after the 4-over power play, he faced about 4 balls. And I said to him after the game, Chum, why don't you take first ball? And he sort of giggled and goes, well, I don't feel like I'm a proper opener, so I don't want to get out first ball. And I was like, this is the guy who's one of the greatest ever, and he's still got an insecurity around getting out first ball of the innings, so he doesn't want to face first ball. But yet, when it's his first ball, he has the incredible courage and trust to go run down the wicket and hit the first ball against the spin for 6. So he's got insecurities, but when he taps his bat and he faces up, and I said, we always planned to hit that for 6. And he goes, no, I just ran down and he threw it up so it was gone. If he'd gone faster, I would have just clipped it into mid-wicket. So he has this an incredible ability to make decisions in the moment. Mm-hmm. Like it wasn't a premeditated shot by the sounds of it, but he also has this trust when he's tapping his bat, even though he's a bit insecure at times leading into the game. And after the game, he's talking about, I'm not an opener. He has this trust and ability, which I think is just through volume of work.
Mm. And that sums up, it doesn't matter what level these players are coming to you at, whether they're under 12, 13, 14 to Steve Smith. Like you say, one of the greatest of all time, he'll go down for, full stop, end of story. And I'm picturing a junior now who gets out first ball, and you can see, the head goes down straight away. It's like, I always go back to what Teague Wiley said to us 2 years ago, Hugh, remember? You're going to get out more times than you stay in. Just get on with it. It's just one of those things. You're going to get out. If at the end of the season you've got more not outs than you've got outs, generally there's something wrong there. There's something very strange.
Too far down the order.
Exactly. And all of a sudden you should be batting 6 or 5 or 6 when you're batting 8, 9, 10. That to me is where the difference is up there, isn't it?
Absolutely. I think it's all in the mind. And I think it's okay to be frustrated. It's okay to be upset. Like Steve, when he got out in those 2 games, I was sitting on the bench. He came and sat down sort of next to me or a few seats away, and he's shaking his head. He's frustrated. But 20 minutes later, he's smiling, he's joking, he's having a laugh, because he realizes, hey, I can't go back in time. I can't change. And if I'm holding on to that emotion moving forward, I'm not going to be present when I'm fielding. I'm not going to be at my best in the next thing I need to do. So a really big, important thing that I work with athletes on, and I'll be talking about in our presentations around the country, is being able to accept and let go, learn and let go, forgive and forget. You've made a mistake. You cannot go back and change it. You can walk off the field and be angry and frustrated, disappointed in yourself. It's a bad shot. It's a bad decision, but you can't change it. So there's no point dwelling on it, but you can learn from it. But the best players what I understand is they learn from it and they let it go and they forget about it. I've heard sports psychologists talk about, if you ask the best athletes in the world about a failure from 2 years ago, they'll struggle to remember because they almost delete them. They want to keep building up their success and filing away all the good times. And you said, tell me about 100. They'll be able to tell you quickly and easily because they're trying to build themselves up rather than bring themselves down. Whereas so many kids and less sort of successful athletes, they're focused on the negative. They'll go and get 100 or do well, and they'll be like, oh, yeah, whatever, I should be doing that. They almost delete the good ones and hold on to the bad ones, and they always feel bad about themselves.
Yeah, totally. And with juniors in particular, I find that if they've got out, they might have scored 36, they might have scored 20. They'll remember that bad shot when actually they've played some of the best cover drives that I've seen them play all season, or they've smacked a 6 further than anyone else in the game. But they'll come out with the shoulders dropped and like, that was great. I loved it. I love watching that. You got out. So what?
Yeah. Yeah. And but at the end of the day, they've got to try and find joy in it and not need any other validation. That's another really important thing is, I see a lot of kids who they play a bad shot or they get out and first thing they do is look for their dad. And it's like, what's dad going to say? What's my dad going to say? What's he thinking? Am I going to get grilled on the car home? My dad's not going to love me anymore. And it all comes back to, and I could talk for hours on this and I'm conscious of time here, but it all comes back to feeling loved. And as a human and as a kid, all we want is love from our parents and for them to want us and care about us. And kids feel like they are loved more when they do well because of the way the parent behaves. The parent says, yes, well done, little Johnny. Come, let's get ice cream. You got 25 today. You're retired. What an amazing day. Let's go and celebrate all that work you've put in. And the parent is excited, but they're not able to handle that excitement. And then the next week, little Johnny gets out second ball and dad goes, little Johnny, what are you doing? And dad is trying to do the right thing. Dad is trying to help. No parent is being malicious, but doesn't understand the impact that has on his 7-year-old, his 8-year-old, his 9-year-old. And then the kid feels, oh man, I've let my dad down. He's disappointed. That means I'm disappointed. And this cycle goes on for the rest of their life. And often, again, we talk about kids quitting or not going on playing. They're like, I don't want this car ride home anymore. I don't want to disappoint my dad anymore. I'm done. I'm quitting. And now I can't disappoint my dad anymore. And it's really sad because every parent, and it's generally a father, but not always, but generally, every parent wants what's best for their kid, but they don't know how to act. And that's another thing I'm going to be talking about in these sessions is aimed at parents, is how you can best support your young athletes. And it's something I've spoken a lot to Nick Bentley, who you guys know, Jackson's dad, and he talks about how the impact that's had on him and the impact that's had on Jackson, where Nick just sits back and it's like, yeah, it's a tough game. He might get runs, he might not. So what? And we've had this conversation for years now, and I think it's so powerful for parents to understand that, because the kid, it's a sad thing to see. The kid gets out and he looks over and goes, oh no, I've let my dad down today, and they feel this level of guilt, they feel this level of disappointment. And if they just knew that dad loved them no matter what, and dad was going to be the same person in the car where they got 100 or got a duck, the kid probably could let go of the failure much easier.
Yeah, definitely.
It transitions and it goes the other way though, because when I had two small children, my wife was grumpy if I stayed in. It's like, she's dealing with two kids running around the place. If I had an innings and I was out there for a couple of hours, she was annoyed. If I got a goal and she was happy. She was very
You
happy.
could come and help.
That's the transition point, yeah. But you got to get to about 30 and have two small kids for that. So yeah,
A bit of a way off. Hey, so you're over here in a couple of weeks' time, Tom. You're up and down the country, left, right, and centre. Where can people find details to book tickets for these presentations, these get-togethers? There's going to be a Q&A at them as well. Where can they find the details?
So on our website, cricketmentoring.com/presentations. So cricketmentoring.com/presentations. We've got all the dates listed there, a bit more about what it is, our 6 pillars, etc. So yeah, all over the country. I'm at Crouch End most Wednesdays. That's my role with them is coaching them on a Wednesday evening. I'm going to be doing some one-to-ones there for anyone who's interested. Then I'm up and down the country doing the presentations and some coaching as well. So yeah, check it out. Check out the dates. Hopefully we're coming to a city or a place near you, and hopefully we can have a few of your listeners come along.
They're not specific. They are at a lot of cricket clubs, but they're not specifically just for people of those cricket clubs.
No, they're open events. No, they're open events. Anyone can come. You can purchase a ticket. Your ticket gets you in. We've just got sort of certain clubs hosting us, but anyone is able to come. We do have 2 or 3 closed events. Where they are specific just for that club, but we're not selling tickets for them. So anything that's got a ticket available on the website is open to anyone.
Wicked, yeah.
And also open to everyone is your little trip down to Sussex and the largest indoor centre in the UK and the Northern Hemisphere, Square One.
That's right. Well, not anyone. It's unfortunately, if you're over 17, you're
okay, yeah.
There is an age range, so it's 12 to 17. And that is a 3-day residential training camp. So it's trying to replicate what we do in India with our India training camp down at Square One. I've never been to the facility, but I've heard amazing things. I've seen the facility. It looks so good. And we're trying to get a group of 12 to 17-year-old cricketers. Now, I understand there's going to be clashes with fixtures, and we've already had people saying they're keen but can't come because of fixtures. So hopefully we can get players to come. It's a 2-night, 3-day training camp. So stay at the University of Brighton, which is sort of right there. Train all day. We've got a sports psychologist coming. I'll be doing a lot with stuff with everybody. We've got Mark Boynes from Opening Up Cricket coming. We've got Josh Sivia, the wicket-keeping coach, coming. We've got a whole range of really good coaches to put together a program for serious and committed cricketers. So boys and girls, 12 to 17 at Square One at the start of August. I think it's the 3rd, 4th and 5th of August, the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And so, yeah, hopefully we have a few people who are keen for that and we can, sort of do a mini India training camp in the UK.
Yeah, it'd be great to be able to do that in a facility that is still practically brand spanking new.
State of the art, yeah.
State of the art. It's got everything you possibly need. It'd be a little bit different to the KIOCC, wouldn't it?
It will be a little different. Slightly, 36 nets at KOC outdoors and just hundreds and hundreds of people. This will be just us in the facility. But yeah, as you say, state of the art and the same sort of learnings, the same sort of things that we teach in India, we'll be teaching in at Square One.
Absolutely. I've got to ask you, you're going up and down the country. You've been to the UK a number of times and obviously played over here as well. Where are you going that you're really looking forward to going for the first time?
Oh, you put him on the spot there.
Absolutely. That's my job.
First time. So I'm going up to Harrogate. I'm looking forward to going there, but my brother got married up there, so I have been there before.
Nice.
Looking forward to getting to that part of the world. I have fond memories of Harrogate from when I went there many years ago. Down to Devon, to be honest. I sort of booked a day I've got a session down in Devon, and then I'd booked to come straight back up to London. But then upon reflection, and I've got my family with me, I've shuffled a few things around. I've moved a date at Richmond Cricket Club, and I'm going to miss one of my sort of Wednesdays at Crouch End so that I can have 5 nights down in Devon. So I have been down to that part of the world before. My wife's cousin got married down there, but just to sort of be in and around Devon, I think is somewhere that I haven't spent much time, and I'm looking forward to having a little bit of time with the family down there.
Well, when I moved back from Western Australia, we ended up going near family, but if we weren't going near family, I'd pinpointed Ottery St Mary because it just sounds so lovely. And you are doing a session at Ottery St Mary, so it was on my list of places I nearly moved to. So
there you go.
Yeah, maybe you should take a trip down there as well for that one.
Come along.
That's a long day trip for me and you, Hugh. Trust me, that's a long day trip, definitely.
It just sounds so lovely. It sounds idyllic, doesn't it? If you talk about England, if it's called Ottery St Mary, it sounds class.
And like, you were over here a couple of years ago, Tom, and I know you did loads of one-to-ones when you were over here a couple of years. Have you got them on the back of these shows as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So most clubs have allowed me to just use one net. And so wherever I am, most sort of cities or clubs, I'll be doing one-on-ones for those that are interested as well. So previously, that's what we've sort of offered. This year, we wanted to sort of promote the Six Pillars presentations first and foremost, because that's what we're most passionate about. What I want to sort of get those messages across to people first and foremost. But then, yeah, I'll be doing some one-on-ones, a handful of one-on-ones at each location. So again, people can reach out via Instagram or via our website or email Lindsay at info@cricketmentoring.com if you're interested in some coaching while I'm in the UK.
Fantastic.
Totally. And obviously, if you didn't pick up on where to get this information from, everyone who listens, everyone who watches us, you know where to find us. And come through us and we'll pass you to the right people, to Lindsay or to Scolls himself. Yeah, and there's bound to be one or two places around the country. And we know that 2 years ago, there were people travelling 2-3 hours to come and have a one-to-one with you, Tom. So let's fill those spaces around the country and get some absolute top quality. And you never know, we might just find the next Jake Weatherald.
Maybe. Well, yeah, thank you for those kind words, and yeah, hopefully we can get a few sessions in. Yeah, we've got quite a lot of cricket mentoring athletes over in the UK already, from our India tours, from our academy for overseas cricketers, from our cricket mentoring community, but always really keen and people. Yeah, it's amazing what social media does with us posting a lot of content over sort of 10 years now. We had, as you say, I was coaching in Surrey at Esher, and I had a guy drive from Leicester for a 1 hour session, and he was an older guy who took a day off work, and he was just like, yeah, I've been following you for years and really wanted to meet you and hear your thoughts on my game. And I think he was in his late 30s and playing Premier League cricket up there. But yeah, amazing what social media and podcasts now and these sort of things do. So yeah, hopefully we can, now that I'm traveling around the country, people will travel a little bit less, but love meeting new people and sort of understanding and getting to know them a bit.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Can't wait to see you back over here, Tom. Be great to meet up a couple of times. I know there's a couple of occasions you're in this area, then we'll definitely be meeting up and maybe a little bit further as well.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having me, guys, and love what you're doing. Love the sort of impact you guys are having over there. So thanks for having me on.
Thanks, Tom.
Cheers now.